What is it with all my favorite OG animes just either getting straight up butchered or getting completely abandoned by the respective studios, and instead of picking up a certified classic like Seraph of the End, they'll go ahead and pump out 4 seasons of Rent-A-Girlfriend with pristine 4K animation, or even worse, they'll decide to drop their 400th Dookie Juice Isekai called something like How I Was Reborn into one of P. Diddy's bottles of baby oil. I'm like, bro, what you on? I'm sorry. Anyways, what better time than to cover this show than right now, since there are rumors of a season 3 being in the works by WIT Studio. So let's cut the yapping and get straight into the meat and potatoes. We start off in Japan and everyone is chilling when this guy just gets his soul snatched, followed by Shorty over here getting her name written in a death note, Truckun running up a kill streak, and a whole airplane just dropping out the sky, all in the span of like 40 seconds. This is gonna be one of the craziest opening scenes to an anime ever. You'd think Inuyashiki was pulling the strings. Turns out the entire world was taken over by vampires who used some type of biological warfare to infect all people above the age of 13. We cut over to these kids from an orphanage who are trying to escape when they get pulled upon by Shin Uchiha, who captures them and sends them to some type of vampire facility where they have been living as livestock for the past 4 years. This is where we meet our main characters Yuichiro X and Mika, and these vampires are running a Promised Neverland operation right here, straight up farming these kids for their blood. Yu is kinda like Eren Yeager in the sense that he hates the vampires and wants to escape one day, and he's tired of being oppressed. Mika thinks the same, but instead of having like a headstrong approach, he's more calculated in his scheming. You see some vampires trample over some children, so he tries to fight them, but vampires are genetically superior to humans, so he almost gets turned into a Donut Clan member when this vampire noble called Lord Ferret pulls up. Mika runs to him and says that he'll swing by his room later tonight to give him some more blood. Yo, this guy is a P. Diddy affiliate, sir. That is an 11-year-old boy. Why do all these 2000s animes have a character like this? Like, we've got Hisoka, Orochimaru, Sukeyama, and now Lord Ferret. Mika explains that him and Lord Ferret have a deal that if he gives him some of his blood, he will get whatever he wants in return. We find out a bit of Yu's backstory, and turns out he had to join the Hyakyo orphanage because his own parents wanted to off him. His goal now is to find a way to escape the vampires with his new family. Mika hands him the Pack-a-Punch 3000 together with a map of the entire complex. They decide that tonight is the night that they conduct their prison break. I'm getting crazy deja vu. They gather their people and begin traversing through the city, and this area is looking like a Dark Souls map. They keep walking and almost make it to the exit when this freakazoid Lord Ferret pulls up, telling him that he knew that Mika was trying to finesse him all along. And without a second's hesitation, he flash steps in and snatches one of his siblings. Yu is a real Wayando and wasted no time, backs out the Napoleon Bonaparte and goes for the headshot, but Broski just sidestepped it. Yu tells them to run away, but Lord Ferret is really smurfing in butt lobbies and turns all of them into red mist with 0 difficulty. Mika grabs the gun and bum rushes in just to get hit with the Rengoku Deluxe, followed by the Shanks Special. I'm sick. Yu was on high alert though and takes the assist and clips Lord Ferret for 200 to the cranium. Mika is on 2 HP and tells Yu he has to run away because otherwise his family's death is in vain. Yu dips out whilst crying when he officially makes it to the outside. This is how it feels when you first make it to the Hades final boss arena and see the snow for the first time. He runs into 3 other humans and they offer him the opportunity to join them so he can get his revenge and help exterminate all the vampires. This is quite the coincidence if you ask me. It's almost as if it's planned or something. We get a short 4-year time skip and Yu is now a part of the demon army and he's on patrol through the city when he runs into a hollow. They tell him to fall back, but bro charges the monster, parries the 2 hits like it's Sekiro, and 1 taps it like prime Levi Ackerman. I thought my boy was getting ready to cook and started his revenge journey, just for the next scene to cut over to him sitting in a classroom. Yeah, turns out he got a suspension for not following orders on the battlefield. That's when his purple head girl called Shinoa Hiragi tells him that she's tasked to watch over him and that he won't be able to return to his army duties unless he makes his first friend, because our main character Yu over here has what I like to call the Bakugo syndrome. His teamwork is straight buns. Now, you're probably thinking, I thought this was gonna be a post-apocalyptic vampire survival anime. Why am I watching a slice of life high school scene? Well, it turns out that the vampire virus reduced the world's population by around 90%, and the remaining 10% lives in these secluded societies where they are working on rebuilding civilization and finding ways to fight against the vampires. We cut back to Yu and Shinoa and we see some kid get bullied. At first Yu dips out, but later on he comes back ready to squabble. But that's when Shinoa tells him that if he fights on school premises, his suspension will increase. Why is she saying my boy up like that? Fast forward and Yu is talking to Yoichi when he explains that he wants to join the Moon Demon Company so that he can get revenge for his sister who got packed up by the vampires right in front of him. That's when a whole bomb goes off and they explain that a vampire has escaped from a testing facility and is now free roaming on the campus. And these guys over here aren't even trying to run away at all, they just accepted their fates. The vampires have the same threat level as a demon in Demon Slayer. Yu is damn near jubilating in excitement at the thought of getting to run the ones with a vampire, so he begins running to his locker and and bro just has his katana and the flintlock pistol on him. What type of America x UK crossover inventory is this? He grabs his blade and starts aura farming. You already know what time it is. Let the squabble commence. Yu rushes in, but more Garnier, Sonic spins away before launching in, followed by the Orewada Strikada, attempting to turn him into a donut. Yu is keeping up the full court pressure and manages to hit Bocchi with the future Gohan classic, but turns out vampires can regenerate as long as they still have their original limbs. She goes on the offense, but Yu for sure played Sekiro because his parry game is on point. He gets hit with chip damage but full counters instantly and pulls out the switch and just starts unloading the clip. This man is really a hybrid between American YN and a British roadman. The vampire is about to drink her blood so she can level up, but Yoichi spawns in out of nowhere and spears 0-2 to the floor. She recovers and jumps from like the 5th floor and chokeslams him for 0-4 damage? Okay. You managed to land yet another counter, but it did no damage. Luckily, the commander who rescues you in the first episode has pulled up and takes her down in one hit. She straight up evaporates into Thanos dust. His name is Guren, and if I had to describe him, imagine you take Levi Ackerman and Erwin Smith and combine them into one person. Wait, hold up. Did they say Guren? Lagan? We evolve! Beyond the person you were a minute before. I'm sorry. And seeing as he's officially made a friend, a zesty one, but a friend nevertheless, it means that Yu and Yoichi are now both being entered into the vampire extermination unit. We return to school the next day and Yu has become a hero, and the girl he saved earlier even gave him a love letter, and I can't even lie. I know every single one of you watching right now has dreamed of this exact same scenario before. A fairy tale fan pulls up to the school armed and dangerous, and you manage to knock him out, saving the day. Shinoa pulls up and says that Yu's training is soon going to start so that he can get himself some cursed gear. She proceeds to show us hers and says Bankai Shikamatoji as this hunting level creature pops out, revealing a giant scythe. This is gonna be one of my favorite ongoing tropes in anime. They'll find this tiny 4'3" little girl and give them a weapon double their body size out of nowhere, moving like mine from a Kami got kill. Yu backs out his blade and straight up tells Shinoa to hand over her weapon. He starts attacking her, but this is like trying to fight a Nagoya user without knowing Haki, because Shinoa uses a named attack, sending bro flying. Fast forward and those bombs who were bullying Yoichi earlier are now calling him big bro and asking him for help. The switch up is crazy. Turns out one of their homies went to some type of forbidden chamber that houses a literal demon. Why is this just casually on the campus? Shinoa, Yu and Yoichi go to investigate, and it turns out to get a cursed weapon you have to make an actual deal with Shaitan. They see their classmate and bro's soul has already been snatched and he's been converted into a boss battle. Got him standing in this transmutation circle just waiting to throw down. Yu runs in thinking he can claim the weapon, but he doesn't realize that if he takes a hold of the weapon, he'll be possessed by the demon and has to overcome some type of trial. Otherwise, he will get his soul snatched too. Yu doesn't care and runs in, grabs the axe, and gets transported back to his old life in the vampire's custody, with his entire family still being alive. The Jin is using some type of genjutsu to try and gaslight Yu, but he locks in and says genjutsu of that level doesn't work on me, before breaking free all on his own. We switch over to Lord Ferret, and this guy is still zest-maxing, but he's walking towards someone as it's revealed that Mika is still alive and has become a vampire. What? This man Mika is siding with the opposition and is that a blasphemous blade? Nah, I'm not even gonna lie, these fits are kinda tough. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. It turns out that when Yu escaped, Mika was left alive and approached by Mind from a Kami got kill. This pink-haired vampire is actually called Cruel Tepish, and she's the leader of all the vampires in this region. Vampire strength is based on nobility, and our fruity ferret over here is a noble and is already considered extremely strong compared to like a regular foot soldier. And Queen Cruel Tepish is even stronger. She asks Ferret how she lost the squabble to a bunch of kindergarteners, but he counters and says that she has been doing some illegal experiments on a project called Seraph of the End, and if the council found out, she'd be cooked. It's safe to say she didn't take kindly to that threat, because she hits him with a fire tornado, followed by an adult Sasuke Supreme straight into the Shido back heel to the neck. Damn! Bro really got no diff, and the first thing he does is talk freaky about being stepped on. They agree to keep each other's secrets, and that's when Cruel offers Mika to drink her blood, as drinking the blood of a noble will allow someone to become a vampire. And if you ask me, this is a pretty solid deal. I get to keep all my memories and personality and I become overpowered. And from what we've seen from these vampires, they don't even got like the traditional vampire drawbacks like sunlight and garlic. Hey, sign me up. This is way better than becoming a demon in Demon Slayer. You straight up forget your past life and become a slave to Muzan. Even though Mika declines and she forces him to drink, and that brings us to the present day where he has vowed to reunite with Yu. Yu is just walking in the hallway when he bumps into Tsukishima, who straight up hits him with an overhand right when it cuts over to Yu being all beat up in the next scene. Yu and Yuichi officially join the Moon Demon Company military classes led by my god Guren, and bro makes the same declaration as Bakugo during the sports festival arc, but when he goes to the back of the class, he runs into the same pink-haired guy from earlier. Man, all these colorful hairstyles, I know for a fact Saiki has something to do with this. His name is Kimizuki, and him and Yu are already moving like Yugi and Kaiba. It hasn't even been half an episode. Fast forward a little bit and they have to do a teamwork test to see whether they are ready to try out for their own cursed gear. When we find out that Kimizuki actually has a sister who's in the hospital with sickness, and the reason he wants to join the Moon Demon Company is to give her the best possible medical equipment to try and cure her. Yu and Kimizuki end up bonding a little bit over this, and they are really speedrunning the Naruto and Sasuke trope. The vampires are having some type of council meeting as they talk about wanting to destroy the Moon Demon Company and take down the remaining human civilizations. That's when we cut over to the humans also having a strategy meeting, and Guren is starting to remind me more and more of Satoru Gojo. Bro genuinely couldn't care less about the higher ups, or maybe like a Benimaru. He pulls up to the class and finally decides to test them to see whether they deserve some cursed gear. He unsheathes his blade and damn near opens a domain expansion as 90% of the class gets knocked. They couldn't handle bro's conqueror's haki. The only ones left standing are Yu, Yoichi, and Kimizuki, so those three will be allowed to try out for the Black Demon series cursed gear, which are ranked as one of the most powerful cursed gears. Think of it as like the golden weapons from Ninjago. This whole display of strength by Guren reminds me of when Gojo took Yuji into his domain when fighting against Jogo. He takes them to go and make a deal with the Shaitan, and it's the same as before. They each pick a weapon and have to defeat a demon's genjutsu, and then they make a deal with them to gain their power. This is really how it feels to pick your starting class in a video game. Yu goes for the sword, maining the Uchigatana and utilizing the high dexterity bleed build. Kimizuki must be a fan of Kratos, because he takes the Blades of Chaos, opting for a high volume brawler playstyle. And Yuichi must be feeling like Archer from Fate Stay Night, because he picks up the bow and arrow, ready to snipe his opponents like Iron Eye and Elden Ring Night Rain. This is looking like a good team comp. Let the trials begin. Each one of them gets put in their own infinite Tsukiyome, and Yuichi's demon replays the time him and his sister got run up on by a demon and he hid under the bed. The Shaitan tries to gaslight him into thinking that his sister's death was all his fault. Then we cut over to Kimizuki. He's looking after his ill sister before they were under the Moon Demon custody. The demon takes over and says that he can read his mind and that he doesn't actually want to be stuck here taking care of his sister. And finally we turn to Yu, but Yu's already dealt with all this low level genjutsu before, so him and his demon end up having a friendly chat. This femboy's name is Ashura Maru, and bro is literally moving like Zangetsu to Ichigo. Yu wakes up and my boy has successfully passed the test, although I'm not really sure if we should celebrate him making a deal with the devil. Kimizuki also secured his cursed gear, but Yoichi is still out cold. Yoichi is losing the physical and mental battle right now, and the demon has completely taken over his body. Guren explains that if they don't bring him back to normal, they'll have to off him. The demon summons his bow and starts sniping from across the map like them Hawkeye players on Marvel Rivals. Yu and Kimizuki lock in and charge the demon, clashing with it and then disarming it. But he quickly figures out that they won't harm Yoichi's body. He recalls his bow the same way Jinwoo recalls his daggers, but Yu takes the gamble of the century. Bro's literally playing Russian roulette with a Skylander. That is not your boy anymore. Yu says that if Yuichi is still in there, he won't be able to shoot him, so he either has to lock in or his day one gets turned into shish kebab. And the gamble pays off. They known each other for like 2 weeks and the bond is already this tight. Guren officially allows the gang to go on their first vampire extermination mission, since he has received intel that the vampires are about to attack Shinjuku. Shinjuku, Shibuya, Tokyo in general got it rough, man. Every week they are dealing with some life-altering events. It's really the equivalent of New York. Yu gears up in his new fit and meets up with Shinoa to link with the rest of the gang outside the walls. And can I just comment on Yoichi's drip? This man put on the whole inventory, got the cape and the top hat to match. This reminds me of when Luffy just started putting on random armor pieces in Dressrosa. Everyone is there, but they are adding one new member to the team because all squads are required to have 5 people. She's called Mitsuba, and her and Shinoa have like a little rivalry going on since she isn't happy with the fact that she's been named as squad leader. She also wields Escanol's divine weapon. I gotta say, the weapons in the show are like a 10 out of 10. I'm a sucker for unique weapon concepts and abilities. Guren sends them to hire Harajuku to take down a vampire stronghold and free the hostages. This tsundere hasn't stopped yapping the whole way there when a kid being chased by Dialga comes around the corner. Yu wants to go save them, but Mitsube explains that this is an obvious trap set by the vampires and that they shouldn't break formation. Yu couldn't care less and goes in to save the kid. He full parries the swipe before blocking the down slam, which allowed Mitsube to cut off its arm, but she ended up being right because 3 vampires spawn in. They waste no time and apply full court pressure, putting Yu on the back foot, but this guy is actually a parry demon. This is how I thought I was gonna move after I equipped his shield in Elden Ring. They land chip damage on his eye, so he steps back and shouts, "Getsuga Tensho!" creating a black vortex around him as he gets a straight up Orochimaru curse mark. He wasn't done yet though, because he follows up with yet another dark cloak dimension slash, barely missing them. Both sides decide to retreat and we get to see Mitsuba scolding Yu, but he explains that he doesn't care because he was able to save her life today. We end up finding out the reason Mitsuba is so hard on Yu is because she used to be the exact same, but when she tried to save her life in the exact same scenario, she ended up losing her captain's life in the process. And it also seems like they're trying to push like some type of love triangle into this, since it's obvious that both Shinoa and Mitsuba got some type of crush on Yu. They received intel from the little girl about the number of vampires and where the stronghold is located. They enter the bus arena and see a bunch of kids dressed the same as Yu was back in the day. They see Virgil from Devil May Cry and Yu wastes no time and turns bro into ash. He does the same to the other NPCs, but as they make it deeper into the subway, they get ambushed by the previous vampires plus a bunch more. These guys done got set up. The little girl they saved earlier was inside the opposition this whole time. Mitsuba gets captured and tells everyone to retreat, but she should know by now that that's not gonna work. They get to squabbling the enemy combatants and Yu runs an O-line speed blitzing the vampires and saving Mitsuba before aura farming and activating his curse mark. And the next scene just cuts over to them having saved everyone. They might be part of the Blackbeard Pirates the way they off-screen these bums. Kimizuki hotwires a G-Wagon and they fight over who gets to drive them to their next destination. This feels like when you're playing Fortnite with your homie and that one homie who drives like SpongeBob SquarePants tries to take control of the wheel. Kimizuki drives when they run into a vampire noble, so they send this 2-ton car towards him at 70 miles per hour just for bro to put his hand down like Dwalin from Inazuma 11 and throw the car back at them like Prime Yuji Itadori. Yoichi uses his ultimate, but he just swats it away and counters with a wind burst. Shinoa tries to get the group to return to formation. It's a 5v1, they should be able to speed blitz. Well, never mind. But this man just flash steps in and goes for that down strike, but luckily you managed to intervene. Bro, they just spawned in 2 baddies and who is this? Out here built like Emma Frost. They try to draw out maximum power from their demons when Queen Marika says that Lord Ferret wants to see Lord Crowley, so he decides to let them live, but not without showing him the power gap by hitting bro with the same move Aizen did to Ichigo. Damn! They go into the Shinjuku stronghold and they are having an all-out war. The vampires are trying to invade using helicopters and they are being shot out the sky with bows? These bows gotta be made out of straight vibranium if they are causing this type of damage to armored fighter choppers. After getting all the heli shot out the sky, they decide to bring out their big boys and pull up with a certified hood classic. They pull up with the plane full of explosives, damn near hitting these guys with a 9. Hey, future Senshiig here. I have decided to not finish that sentence due to no particular reason. Let's continue. They put a hole in the wall at the Colossal Titan back in 2013. I'm not gonna lie, the vampires are bodying the humans badly. Gurren and his team are scouting out the vampire nobles and Lord Ferret is aura farming like Norman in Promised Neverland. That's when we cut to Mika and this guy is really chilling with the man who turned his entire family into a 10-piece combo meal. We found out about some more of Mika's backstory and turns out he isn't actually fully vampire yet as he hasn't drank human blood once, but if he does, he will get a Zenkai boost and he'll remain the same age at the moment of drinking said blood. He's instead been surviving on cruel Tapish's blood and their relationship is so confusing to me, like is she using him? Is she in love? Like what's going on? Someone in the comments please explain this. We cut over to Shinoa and the gang riding out to the next battle when she hands them that compound V. They basically work the same as food pills in Naruto and will significantly boost your stats, but you can only take 1, maybe 2 at most. If you take 3 then you die and your organs explode. Whilst on the way there, they end up getting bombed which causes them to split up on the ground. They agree to regroup later when we spin over to the humans and the vampires having a standoff like the Crips and the Bloods. Gurren is leading the charge and releases his Bankai. Mahiru no. Eviscerating 2 vampires right out of the gate. Mika says he will fight Gurren on his own, and his sword equip is so tough. The prickly vines remind me of like Kurama from Yu Yu Hakusho. Strong vampire weapons require them to drink the blood of their owner, so this is yet another cool concept. Mika and Gurren are going blow for blow, band for band, matching each other's hits. Gurren backs out a paper bomb and sticks it to Mika's forehead, causing a building leveling explosion, and he survived unscathed? You mean to tell me Mika ate this Megumin level explosion to the cranium, but Tsunade's little brother got put on a t-shirt by this measly kitchen fire? Yeah. Even though Mika dodged it, it was actually a trap this whole time, because Lobek's cousin uses his strings to put Mika on the back foot, which allowed Goshi to use his genjutsu. They are full court pressing, as it seems like Gurren is about to land the final blow, but my zesty goat Lord Ferret pulls up and backhands Gurren straight into the ragdoll physics. Mika follows up, but right as Mika landed the final blow on Gurren, Yu and his gang pull up to the battlefield and he leaps in, landing a fatal blow of his own. But by the time he's locked eyes with the vampire, he realizes that's his day one, his compadre, his brethren. Do you understand how confused, how flabbergasted I'd be if I reunite with my childhood best friend who I thought was dead on the battlefield, and he's fighting for the opposition, and he's a whole different race now? The only clip that I could even think of that remotely describes the situation is when Daffy ran into Bugs trying to escape an Albanian prison.
Bugs? Daffy? What are you doing in an Albanian prison?
Both Yu and Mika are going through a mental breakdown, and Gurren is pretty rightly so upset. He just watched his number one student spare the ops that was about to take his life. I'd be mad too. Yu explains to his people that his brother has been turned into a vampire and begins crying on the battlefield. Lord Ferret is manipulating Mika, telling him that the humans are likely using Yu for their own gain. And to make it worse, that demon Lord Crowley with his 2 bodies also pulls up to the battlefield. It might be a wrap. Gurren orders a retreat, but Lord Ferret threatens to suck Yu's blood, and without a second's hesitation, Mika snatches his whole arm. He don't play about his bestie. Mika takes Yu and they go to talk in a secluded place, where he once again says that the humans are only using Yu, and this is also where Yu realizes that Mika has been turned into a vampire. Mika asks Yu to just run away with him, but whilst this is happening, his team is getting turned inside out. Yuichiro looks like he's about to receive backshots of doom and despair. Yu realizes this and finally gets his anime character rage mode as his eyes start bleeding and he gets teleported to his inner being so he can talk to Ashuramaru the same way Naruto used to hit up Kurama. Ashuramaru explains that Yu isn't actually fully human and even warns him that he shouldn't be trusting the humans. We return to Yu's body and this man begins transforming into Asta. This rage mode transformation made him 10 times stronger. His Gatsuga Tensho is actually starting to rival Ichigo's. He's giving Lord Crowley a high difficult fight, ragdolling him around and delivering city block leveling attacks. Gurren seems to almost have anticipated this happening, but we cut back to Yu and he's completely lost control and tries to off Shinoa, but my god, Mika pulls up and saves Shinoa because he says that if Yu killed her, he wouldn't be able to live with himself. Gurren tells Shinoa that she's the only one who can bring Yu back to normal, and I thought she was gonna unlock her own Black Clover demon, but she hits us with the Sakura Deluxe and begins hugging and begging him to return back to normal. This might be top 3 most OP moves in shonen anime. I've seen the most powerful and devoted men in media waver in conviction at the words, "This isn't you." Yu returns back to normal and passes out in his girl's hands. That's when that guy from My Happy Marriage takes his sniper shot, revealing that backup has arrived. And even though I'm starting to have my doubts about Gurren, this pose is so tough. This is the type of photo you'd find in your dad's garage, and then when you ask him about it, he'll just smirk a little bit, providing no further context. I need more dad lore. Fast forward to after the first war, and Shinoa goes to confront Gurren about what he did to Yu. Gurren basically admits to having done human experimentation on him, trying to create some type of superhuman weapon. What in the One Piece world government type antics is even going on right now? Gurren tells Shinoa to stop trying to involve herself with things that don't concern her and calls her out for being in love with Yu. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm team Yu and Shinoa. Yu wakes up in the hospital after being in a coma for 7 days, but he lost all his memories from the point he met Mika, meaning he doesn't know anything about his Sukuna rage mode rampage. Jokes aside though, it's nice to see them bonding and getting closer as a family. However, on the vampire side of things, it's clear that both sides have traitors working with the opposition, because Lord Ferret is seen handing a private intel to a human, but he vanishes like Batman before we can even see who it is. Shinoa confronts Gurren again, and we find out a bit more lore about Gurren and Shinoa. Shinoa is part of the Hiragi family, which is the family that runs the entire Moon Demon Company and also the most powerful family in the verse. She had an older sister called Mahiru who was in love with Gurren, but when she lost control and got taken over by her demon, Gurren was forced to off her and turned her into his weapon. The Hiragi family calls Yu over for a meeting and everyone is worried because these guys are on the same level of corruption as the celestial dragons. Yu enters the room and there's a stray vampire just chilling there, but Yu makes quick work of him. That's when General Hiragi reveals himself and explains that that was a test to see whether Yu was a traitor. And to be fair, it's not ridiculous to say that. He spared a vampire and was chopping it up with the enemy team on the battlefield. Hiragi wants to test his strength, but before Yu can even get ready, this man summons his Bankai Rianaki and booms Yu with a thunderclap. Yu calls him out for fighting dirty, but Bro responds and says that anything goes on the battlefield. But remember, Yu is a real YN. And the moment Bro turns his back, he goes to return the favor. If it wasn't for the wannabe Riza Hawkeye over here, Hiragi would have got fried. I'd say it's 1-1. Hiragi tells Yu that he thinks he's a spy when he takes him into a room where he's been torturing Kamizuki and Yoichi because they think they're his accomplice. Damn, this man is insane. Yu asks where him, Kamizuki and Yoichi came from, and you know, we actually forget having a black demon level cursed gear is extremely rare, and Gurren somehow managed to get 3 wheelers on his team just like that. This is like how Yami has damn near an entire squad full of high level mages on the Black Bulls. After the questioning, Hiragi offers Yu to join him, but Yu's not trying to hear all that, so he lets all 3 of them go. Yo, after that, I think the vampires are starting to be onto something. The humans might be evil. Mika is beginning to struggle since he still hasn't drank any human blood, which is causing his body to start stacking debuffs. After getting their butt cheeks clapped in Harajuku, they realize they need to do a little training arc and learn how to level up their demons. Yoichi managed to figure it out on his own and is now moving like Prime Uryu and can manifest his demon. Yu starts his training and he has to get through another one of them Genjutsu tests, but this time they show us the time his parents tried to off him. He must have showed them a drawing that looked like this. Yu and Ashiromaru are low-key starting to become friends, so he agrees to help out Yu whenever he needs it. Kamizuki is up next and yo, why is every demon here a femboy? Anyways, fast forward after beating the Genjutsu, he too acquires his upgrade. After both getting Zenkai boosted, Yu and Kamizuki both want to have a fair squabble to settle once and for all which one of them is stronger. They are trying their hardest to push this Goku and Vegeta narrative. Let the squabble commence. They went from using Bankais to straight up manifesting none abilities because Yu uses some Scissor 7 1000 Demon Dagger ability when Kamizuki begins to open a whole reanimation jutsu. The thing starts counting down and Yu backs down, and I would too. I ain't trying to get dragged into Jahannam either. So they call it a draw. We get a bunch of cutie patootie character bonding moments of Shinoa and Mitsuba somehow setting the kitchen on fire while trying to cook an omelette. They have breakfast and explain everything that happened to Yu, like how he went berserk and tried to off Shinoa. Yu took the news pretty well, however Shinoa poses the question on whether they can truly trust Gurren or not, so they need to make a decision on whether they will side with him or abandon him. That's when we cut over to General Hiragi, who's having a private meeting with Gurren to talk about the vampires who are about to start a war in Nagoya. So he wants Gurren and his team to go there and stop them. But as Hiragi leaves, we see the manifestation of Shinoa's big sister whispering in Bro's ear, like how the king was talking to Canute in season 2 of Vinland Saga. We cut back to Yu and he's made his final decision to stick with Gurren and declare Shinoa, Mitsuba, Kamizuki and Yoichi as his new family. W character development. All troops are now preparing for war against the vampire nobles, and we find out that Gurren has a certified gooner on his team. Shinjo also has decided to help them out in the war, and this man really rolled out in a Lamborghini Aventador. Gurren is delivering the final speech, but Shinoa and the gang are late, and you can tell Gurren is genuinely upset this time, and he has a point. This is a real war. I feel like this is the type of nonsense us Gen Z would pull off if you actually got drafted for World War III, talking about some sorry guys I overslept. As their punishment, they have to face off against Gurren, Shinya and Mito, and it's safe to say they got absolutely wiped. This was never a fair matchup. We got Hawkeye up against someone who's wielding a Zapatron that shoots saber-toothed tigers. It was a wrap from the beginning. Even though Yu was able to keep up with Gurren, the rest of the squad got knocked, and it was in front of all the other members of the army. All of them are talking trash about them right now. This guy that wields Poseidon's trident has been put in charge of teaming up with them on the battlefield, and their team has to take out a vampire noble called Luko. It's safe to say that they don't really like each other. Chemistry is straight red links. Yoichi is joining Shinyon on the sniping duties as they lay their eyes on the target. I mess with his character design design, it kinda reminds me of like Jack the Ripper from Record of Ragnarok. Him and his right hand man are discussing whether they want to side with Crew or with the Vampire Council when Yuichiro and Shinoa send 2 Hitsatsu techniques towards them, and without a second's hesitation, he grabs his day one and turns him into a shield. Damn, the only thing left is his arm. That's tough. He equips his scimitar and sends a world-ending slash towards the snipers, taking them down. Shinoa and Narumi's squads move out, and Yu rushes in on side and clashes with him. Kimizuki and Shinoa follow up, but this man is taking no damage. Mitsuba spawns in her Jinwoo shadows, but he deflects those too, so Kimizuki goes in again, going blow for blow with the noble, allowing Narumi's squad to land 2 backstabs, which allows this guy to shackle him using some type of restraining jutsu. Now this was a great sequence, but why in the hell did bro only restrain his forearm? We've seen these nobles lateral raise Lamborghini trucks with one hand. Surely we could have tied down his whole body, I don't know. The noble just ends up cutting his arm off and steps back as it seems like he's about to retreat, when my goat Kimizuki uses an ancient forbidden technique that we haven't seen used since the Heian era. Rage bait. 99% effectiveness against people with fragile egos and superiority complexes. He starts stabbing the vampire's hand and begins talking spicy.
Hey bro, you just gonna run away and leave your whole arm here with us? Shit, I might just post this one on the gram.
Yo bro, don't do that.
I already know all the vampire bodies are gonna think you're a bum.
I'll kill every one of you.
W rage bait. The vampire rushes in blindly, not realizing they set up a nasty trap which allowed Yu to sneak in behind and land a forsaken slash. Bro is slowly beginning to eviscerate, and when Yayoi tries to land the final blow, he snatches a sword, and I really thought he was gonna take out at least one person on some petty shit, but nah, he offs himself because he would rather go out by his own hand than by the hand of a human. This is that Vegeta Saiyan pride. They really took down a noble with 0 casualties and damn near no damage taken. We switch over to Gurren's team, who are having some type of high-def fight with a bloodborne boss, but they too managed to take it down and collect their souls without losing any members. But just as they did that, this background NPC explains that a 45-member squad got no-diff by a vampire noble and they are now being held hostage. And I'ma be honest, 45? Gurren's squad had like 4 people and Shinoa's squad had like 10 people. Those 45 people must have been compromised of brown shirts and bronze players, or they had to have been fighting 2013 Madara. Like, what do you mean? And it seems like it was the latter, because it turns out they got sent to fight the demon Crowley Lucifer. This guy is one of them ones. We need to put a special unit of the best vampire hunters together just for him. I say we get Trevor Belmont, Blade, Michael B. Jordan, and me. That's right, we can handle that. Lord Crowley is chilling with his 2 baddies, and sweet mother of pearl, damn! We must stay focused, brothers. We must stay focused. He deduced that the humans are getting too strong and that someone on the vampire side is likely leaking information. You and the squadron are waiting at the meeting point where they all agree to meet after offering their respective targets. Hardly anyone has returned, and well, wasn't this the woman who was talking all spicy earlier? She's looking rough and lost half her squadron. At least she killed the target though. The other guy who was talking the most is nowhere to be seen. Gurren comes back and declares that they are likely the final people left alive and agrees that they should go on to save the hostages since they are valuable assets. They pull up to City Hall, and this gotta be one of the most obvious baits of all time. Of course, Yu is not trying to hear all that, but everyone agrees that they'll attempt to save the hostages because Hiragi's unit is doing something in Shibuya, so Gurren's squad needs to make sure the vampires are occupied. They start off by trying to get some long-range sniper picks on Crowley, but I told you earlier, this guy's one of them ones, because he snatches Yoichi's spirit animal like it's a regular farm chicken. They move locations and decide that Shinya and Gurren's team will attack the nobles, and Shinoa and Narumi's team will free the remaining hostages. They all set their clocks for 5 minutes, and regardless when or where it goes off, they have to retreat. They begin making their push, getting close enough to allow Goshi to use his genjutsu to make it seem like they have more soldiers. Gurren wastes no time and goes to run the ones with Crowley, which lets Shinya sneak up on him, and he probably would have got the shot off if he didn't decide to randomly taunt him before shooting. No one ordered a damn Yappuccino, just take the shot. Crowley sends both of them flying into the building, and that alone already left them on 2 HP. The squabble commences and Gurren is trying to up the pressure, but Crowley genuinely hasn't even started trying because he hasn't even activated his sword ability yet. And is this MILF maining a whip as her primary weapon? She's a freak! Crowley is such a troll, man. He might be my favorite vampire. He continues to chase them and manages to land a fatal blow on Gurren, and just when it seems like it's a wrap, Yu springs out the ground like Naruto versus Neji, and they try to land a rising rush on Crowley just for him to stand there unfazed. He releases his Scissor 7 ability, but it just gets swatted away. I'm not gonna lie, you guys can't do a damn thing. The second time is fair enough, but this is just plain ignorance. Even Gurren is telling them to dip out. I understand if this was the start of the show, but this is the second season and Yu still has the battle IQ of a Neanderthal. It's actually starting to get kind of annoying. Crowley has taken an interest in Yu since he was there when he turned into Aster, so now they are trying to capture him too. The two maidens try to go chase them, but Ryuki Tenkai. Coffin of the Iron Mountain. As the man Goshi pulls out Jogo's domain expansion, I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game. Guren's squad tries to save him, but Goshi makes the rational decision and realizes it's too late. Before we return, we spin over to Hiragi's squad, and it's basically revealed that this man is going to betray his family and the entire human race because he wants to make the Moon Demon Company a global superpower. That's right, he said he's going to crush every single human stronghold on the planet and then take out every single vampire and rebuild humanity with him as the sole leader. What in the Kim Jong? This man is looking for world domination. Bro's just a more deranged version of Lelouch. His brother says he's going to report him to his father and arrest him, but Riza Hawkeye already took care of his men. Damn. You know, the vampires might have been onto something. Do you know how greedy you have to be for 90% of the world to have been wiped out by the vampires, and we're in the middle of a global crisis and all you're thinking about is world domination? This level of greed is incomprehensible. Shinya is angry at you because he didn't follow orders, and you is saying that everyone there doesn't care about Guren because they left him behind to die. You know, I understand, but use common sense. You're a Genin trying to squabble with a Hokage. You do not have the facilities for that, big man. Live to fight another day. You was actually smarter as a 5-year-old compared to now. So this smooth brain idiot decides, you know what, I just got absolutely no diff and I've already taken 2 pills today, let me just take 2 more. Even though being told that if you take 3 in a day, your organs will implode. He starts talking spicy just for his insides to get turned into fufu. Luckily though, Yu's heart started beating again, meaning that Ashuramaru will be able to restore him temporarily. Yu wakes up and instead of having the post-death clarity, he decides to run the squabble right after being rebooted. He got the strength potion effect for around 3 minutes, so he jumps out and starts moving like them aliens in Alias Academy, Naruto running straight to the fade. He wastes no time and gets to clashing, but Crowley actually takes him seriously this time and equips his Rivers of Blood katana. And I'm gonna be honest, this is extremely sad. Crowley is still dogging him. He came back from beyond the grave with a whole Zenkai boost just to get washed. This is like when Vegeta thought he'd become a Super Saiyan in Namek Saga. He gets a rage amp, but the more angry he gets, the more easily he's influenced by the whispers of Shaitan until he eventually gets almost completely taken over. But after all that, Kimitsuki pulls up with his Nen ability and takes Yu into safety. Man, I actually kinda wanted to see him use his demon form. They all retreat to the airport when the one and only Mika pulls up. 1-man army against 50 and the guy stand on business. With the snow dropping, he decides to take on the entire squadron, dodging, ducking, and weaving through, not realizing it was Goji's Genjutsu. He continues to break through the lines whilst taking heavy chip damage, but Shinoa realizes that it's Yu's family. Mika makes it to Yu, but in doing so he drops his guard and he gets impaled by Shinya, and I thought it was a wrap, but Shinoa the clutch shooter decides to return the favor and protects Mika. If my future wife ain't riding out for my day ones like this, I don't wanna. The entirety of Yu's squad is backing Mika and fighting off the demon army, and you know, I like the sentiment and all, but you know, a simple exchange of words would have probably done the job. I don't know if attacking your own people was the right move here, but hey, what do I know? Shinoa helps Mika escape and her teammates are rightly so upset. This no-face bronze player even tried to eliminate her right there and then, but Narumi protects her. A bunch of backup arrives for the vampires, and this is where it starts to get dark because off the rip, Yayoi and Kageyama from Narumi's team get knocked and thirsted. Damn! Mika is carrying Yu's unconscious body, but he's not doing so good himself because he doesn't have any blood to drink, so he can't regenerate himself. You know, this really reminds me of when Hide and Kaneki met at the end of Tokyo Ghoul Season 2, and he ended up carrying him through the snow. Even the undertones are kinda similar, like Kaneki was a human turned into a ghoul, and Mika is a human turned into a vampire. And to add on to the similarities, when Yu wakes up, he offers Mika to drink his blood so that he can survive. The author definitely took inspiration from Tokyo Ghoul. Now that Mika has drank human blood for the first time, he has officially become a full vampire and won't ever age again. They talk about what they're gonna do, and Mika agrees to stay with Yu and help him get his other friends back to safety. It's nice seeing them argue and mess around like they did when they were kids. I've lived all over the place, and whenever I go back to a certain area or country and meet with my old friends, it always feels just like this. We just pick up right where we left off, as if we never spent any time apart. It's beautiful. We cut back to the gang and they're at the airport with the only new orders they received from Hiragi is being stand by and await orders. That's when the blonde girl ended up crashing out on Shinoa. Because of her, they ended up losing 2 of her comrades. Granted, they did get packed up by a bunch of 60 overalls, but you know, that's beside the point. Naromi holds her back and says that the blood should be on his hands and wants to kill her instead. Damn, I mean, I get it. Siding with the ops is crazy. Luckily, Shinya steps in and puts a stop to it and further explains that this mission wasn't even Guren's, but it was General Hiragi's. And Naromi, standing 10 toes, G-checks Shinya, explaining that he's no longer going to follow the orders and is going back to rescue Guren. Shinya ends up agreeing and decides that they all should go and rescue Guren, but when we cut to Guren, we see that Lord Ferret has also arrived there. He admits to Crowley that he's been putting some funky shenanigans behind the scenes, but there was a human helping him, as he points to Guren. What? I was sure the traitor was General Hiragi. Lord Ferret further confirms that Shinoa's theory was correct and that Guren has 2 personalities inside of his body, his own and Shinoa's older sister Mahiru, who sometimes takes control and has been manipulating the real Guren. Guren has been getting beat and tortured this whole time, which has weakened his strength against Mahiru, and she has now completely taken over. This is literally the exact same as Yuji and Sukuna. Guren is the reliable senpai that wants to protect his people, but Mahiru just wants to cause straight up havoc. He grabs the vampire noble's leg and eliminates him from the equation before trying to speed blitz Cruel Tepish. Turns out she is also in on the deal and had a deal with Mahiru. Cruel was also a traitor and needs the Seraph of the End experiment to succeed for whatever reason, so Guren tells her that it will be tested at the Nagoya airport. We return to the airport and a bunch of airplanes start flying, and it seems like General Hiragi has arrived. He gives a speech and says that everyone has done an amazing job and total victory is guaranteed. Yo, I'm starting to realize this guy is just a 10 times more evil version of Commander Urban. They raise up some sort of shipment container surrounded by paper, bombs and enchantments, and the moment I seen this BS, I would have been out of there. Whatever is in there is none of my business. You said we got relieved of our duties? Bet that. He gives the signal and a bunch of spiked metal rod kunais come out and start wiping everyone. This sick individual just unleashed a weapon of mass destruction. No one is safe. No one is safe. It doesn't matter how much screen time you had, you're cooked. Naromi is raging hard right now because he just lost all of his day ones in a matter of 20 minutes. And General Hiragi is talking about some I spared them, they should be grateful. Yeah, this man has lost the plot. He has to go. This creature looks like that thief guy from My Hero Academia. They continue to try and play defense, but he starts targeting his own sister, and just when it seemed like it was a wrap, a young crash out enters the battlefield saving his maiden. And I hate to say it, but both Mika and Lord Ferret ended up being correct. I said it earlier, becoming a vampire don't even sound all that bad to me, man. If me and my boys all became vampires, I don't know, that doesn't even sound too crazy, man. That sounds pretty chill. The vampires have pulled up to the battlefield and it's become an all-out Fortnite 50v50. The gang tries to escape, but that's when Yu runs into Guren, not realizing that isn't his senpai. It should have been obvious though. If this show aired today, the Twitter fangirls would be fiending for this man. Guren goes to strike Yu, but luckily Mika is alert and clashes with Guren. But Guren got that Mahiru stat booster because he hits him with an up special, into a side special, into the reverse spin kick. Damn! Combo straight out of Brawlhalla. Hiragi tells him to stand down as Guren begins slaying both humans and vampires, which fuels the Dragon Ball Super type creature to transform, and as we cut over to Kimitsuki, we realize that it's his sister. Guren might be Aizen because what do you mean this was all a part of your plan? This she has been getting foreshadowed since like episode 4. Mirai pulls out the trumpet and blows it, transforming the entire stage into a dusty divot. Kimitsuki tries to rush in, but Guren takes him down. Yu tries to talk no jutsu him as one singular tear rolls down his face, meaning that deep inside there, Guren is probably still alive. Kimitsuki's sister begins transforming into a combination of a tailed beast and Giratina from Pokemon. Mika got the same thought process as me. It's truly a wrap. No way they can fight this giant Power Rangers Mechazord Kaiju. Everyone tries to flee the scene, but you don't even know what the word retreat means and gets ready to stand 10 toes. He recognized the trumpet as being the same one he saw when his heart stopped beating, so decides to recklessly impale himself. Even Ashiromaru is looking at him absolutely perplexed. Yu blows the trumpet, and this is exactly how it feels when Sonic goes supersonic, because a giant beam of golden light spawns in, with Yu standing there in the middle as he undergoes his transformation. Ai Hayasaki says that they are getting new Seraph of the End readings, and they are coming from Yu. Hiragi says that the plan must go on, and that even if God himself was the enemy, they'd defeat him. And let me stop you right there, buddy. You just single-handedly ruined whatever measly hope you had of winning with that idiotic statement. No one is defeating God in anything. They use Mirai to control this Pokemon Pokemon and send a quick attack towards you, but he has completed the demon transformation and instantly spawns in a wave of salt, petrifying all the 4 horsemen of John. Darkness explains that Yu has been transformed into the King of Salt and is also a version of the Seraph of the End. Bro begins aura farming and creates a spear of salt, encountering like Levi versus the Beast Titan, flying into the air and popping his ult on the monster, turning it into dust, all whilst this Avatar The Last Airbender type background music is playing in the background. And then he stands there in the air like Satoru Gojo about to pass judgment. Sensational. I really thought he was gonna end them all, but General Hiragi snipes Broski out the air the same way Azula used lightning bending on Aang when he was about to go into the Avatar state. He runs in and tries to land the final blow himself, but he's not built for all that and just gets sent flying backwards. Yu gets ready to take out the entire Moon Demon Company army, but in the last minute Ashuramaru steps in, taking control of his body. Crow tells Mika to take Yu somewhere safe, but that's when Crowley jumps in and attacks her, but he just gets his arm snatched before getting put in a full Nelson. This is the same Crowley that's bodied every single opponent in the series with no difficulty. Cruel Tepish is really like that. Sadly, Lord Ferret spawns in from behind and lands a fatal blow on her neck. Mika wants to help, but Cruel tells him to run away before whispering something to him. Damn bruh, this is really the end of Cruel Tepish. I actually kinda liked her. She clearly cared for Mika in her own way. I hope she isn't actually like fully dead though. I feel like it would be a waste of a good character. Lord Ferret says that Queen Cruel was a traitor and is now taking over as commander. The gang and Mika run away with Yu and barely manage to escape when we get a 4-month time skip and see that Hiragi and Gurren are still alive and kicking whilst working together. The vampires have a new leader and Yu, Mika, Shinoa and the rest of the gang are all now working together on a plan to rescue Gurren and Kimizuki's sister, as they leave us with this Attack on Titan type scene of Yu looking into the ocean. Damn! You know, I really feel like my Gurren Aizen comparison from earlier isn't even that crazy, because he probably anticipated that he was going to get taken over by Mahiru, so he was planning Yu to be his second Seraph of the End to counter the main Seraph of the End. I don't know, I might be reaching, but I feel like that makes sense, because like, why else would he have Yu go through all this training and pick Yu to be like this person? I don't know. Let me know in the comments if I'm reaching or not. Those last few episodes were clearly rushed. It has been exactly 10 years since the start of this show. There is so much untapped potential that they could like flesh out, so I genuinely hope from the bottom of my heart that we at least get like a season 3. Me and the 4 Seraph of the End fans would be elated. But hey, that's the end of the video. Thank you for sticking till the end. I truly appreciate each and every single one of you. Like, you guys don't even understand how grateful I am to you guys. So yeah, I appreciate that, man. Let's keep pushing together and keep growing the family. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe. YouTube thinks you'll like the video on screen next, so check it out. Peace. Oh, and follow the IG.